We are live.
All right, this meeting of the Montgomery County Land Use Transportation and Public Safety Committee is called to order. Thank you all very much for being here. I hope this meeting scheduled for noon today offers a welcome distraction for some who may not want to be paying attention to other things happening at noon today. We have four local bills on the agenda. Some of them we may be able to take a final vote on or vote on some amendments and then take a final vote on today. Others will have some discussion, but we might have to wait until our next meeting because I think some amendment language hasn't been formalized yet. But let's start with the low-hanging fruit. First off, we have MC 1025, which was submitted by Senator Kramer. This is for Montgomery County Speed Monitoring Systems on Maryland Route 200, also known as the Inter-County Connector. We did receive a memo from Montgomery County's Office of Intergovernmental Relations supporting this bill. So is there any further discussion about this bill? Right, seeing none, is there any motion on this bill, MC 1025?
There are amendments, correct, Mr. Chair?
Not to 1025, as I
Okay,
recall.
okay. Well, then I'm happy to move the bill.
Thank you, Delegate Stewart. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Delegate Moon. Thank you. All right, we'll do a voting session, and I guess in accordance with our delegation rules, any members of the committee voting need to be on camera. So please turn on your cameras if you are a committee member and you plan to vote. And we will take a vote on MC 1025 as moved. All in favor of a favorable report on MC 1025, say aye or raise your hand. Aye. Looks unanimous. The chair votes aye as well. Thank you all very much. Anybody opposed? No? Okay. So MC 1025 will be advanced to the full delegation. Thank you all very much. Okay, the next bill on the agenda is MC 425. This is Delegate Charkoudian's bill, I think also with Delegate Palakovich-Carr, regarding stop sign cameras. And Delegate Charkoudian is with us to answer any questions that anyone may still have. We did receive an email from MDOT, SHA folks weighing in on a proposed amendment regarding the requirement to put up signage on state highways, notifying folks that they are entering an area where there are stop sign monitoring systems. So our committee council drafted an amendment, which we circulated to the committee. SHA weighed in saying that their preference would be to change the language from shall authorize the local authority to place signs to may authorize the local authority to place signs on state highways. So I'll open it up to discussion, and if folks want to move an amendment along those lines, we can vote on that. Any discussion? Delegate Moon.
Just do we have any information about whether there is an existing process that would kick into place regarding these signs if we were to listen to SHA's suggestion on this?
The only information I have is from SHA representatives themselves who said their concern is that there might be federal or state guidelines that they have to abide by during authorization to allow local authorities to put up signage on state highways. I don't have any more information than that. I don't know if there's a representative from MDOT or SHA here today at the committee. I don't see one.
And I guess so I just don't know anything about this. You know, like, do counties and locals generally currently put signs up on state highways? Is this the only scenario where it would happen? You know, so I don't really care. This, you know, this topic seems, it seems fine to me if there's actually a process. But if there's not, or this somehow adds an impediment, I guess that.
Okay, good point. Anybody have any other thoughts or knowledge about that issue? I will say it's my understanding that this signage requirement is not like the signage requirements for speed camera systems where you have to put signs, within a certain distance of the monitoring system, but rather, as I read the bill and the proposed amendment, this is about more like sort of those signs that you see that say entering Maryland, no cell phone use while driving. It's sort of more like you're entering a county or a general area where these monitoring systems may be in use. And Delegate Charkoudian, as the drafter of the bill, if you have any thoughts or disagree with us on that, feel free to weigh in.
Well, thanks, Mr. Chair, and thank you for letting me join the conversation. I think the first question I have is just we modeled this off of Prince George's County, and I don't think that this, we basically were trying to model it exactly off of how Prince George's County ran their pilot, and I don't think that this is, so this would be a change that would make it inconsistent with the Prince George's County pilot. My conversations with the next committee where this goes, my sense was that there was, it would be useful to have this be consistent with what Prince George's County is doing. However, if this committee feels the need to include this amendment, my request would be that it would say, shall authorize signs consistent with federal and state law or whatever. I think that the current SHA is doing, much better job working with counties and municipalities, but I think that historically there's been some real challenges, and we don't want to add a bureaucratic a may that would allow for local jurisdictions to end up in bureaucratic wrestling matches with a future SHA if they chose to not authorize without any clear direction in state law as to why they could choose to not authorize.
Okay, thank you. See some other committee member hands up. Delegate Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't like this amendment just on the merits. Like, I think it's very likely to add red tape to a process that really should be as seamless as possible. My inclination just to keep us moving here from a process standpoint, obviously I will refer to both the body and the chair on this, but my inclination would be just to pass without the amendment. And if it really does prove to be the case that federal or state law requires this amendment, which I'm dubious of, but if it really does, then I'm pretty good friends with the subcommittee chair that will hear this in the relevant standing committee in the House, and we'll take it up then and figure it out to make sure this is in compliance with federal and state law. But for now, at this juncture here, sitting in January, I think it would be prudent just to pass it as is.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Very good point, Delegate Stewart. And I see Delegate Moon also has his hands raised.
Thanks. And for those who are following on YouTube and don't get the joke, Delegate Stewart is also on the standing committee subcommittee chair, so he'll see this twice, which actually helps me form my own conclusions about this and another bill. Because I did want to say that the minute I found out or heard that this would bring disparities between Montgomery and other counties that have similar provisions of law, it's just a flag that ought to be a question the standing committees sort out whether they should make us the same, but they should figure out if it needs to be one way versus the other. And ordinarily we could signal that by amendment, but since we have the subcommittee also here, I guess I'll move the bill as is, except I see Sam Fairbanks has a hand up.
Yeah, Sam, let's hear your comment, and then we have a motion on the bill as is pending, but let's hear your comment.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that when we're looking at as is versus Delegate Charkoudian's concern with the may authorize, in PG County, is it drafted as the current bill is where it says that SHA shall place signs? Or is it drafted that SHA shall authorize the local authority to place signs? because the first reason why we brought this amendment was the current draft language, as is, no amendment, says that SHA has to place signs on areas of the highway where that's in their authority. The amendment that you guys brought after last week's conversation and after a conversation with SHA now says that SHA shall allow the local authority to place signs. We can add in line with state and federal law if they're concerned about other hoops that they have to follow. The difference of what SHA responded is they wanted us to say you may authorize them to place signs, which is where we get into is there a reason why they can or can't place signs? So I just want to make sure that when you move to vote, you know whether you're moving to vote on the as is, SHA has to place the signs themselves, the amendment as drafted, which is SHA shall require them, or the amendment as SHA proposed, which is may allow.
Thank you, Ms. Fairbanks. My understanding of Delegate Moon's motion is that he moved on the original bill with no amendments at all. And my understanding from Delegate Charkoudian's comment is that the Prince George's County version that already passed that provision was identical and therefore required SHA to place the signs itself in Prince George's County. Is that correct, Delegate Charkoudian? Do you know? That's okay. We're getting a yes. Delegate Stewart, I see your hand up again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, well, Ms. Fairbanks's comments have sort of blown my mind here and caused me to sort of change my take a little bit on this. So I'm not really sure. I don't know. On the merits, sure, we'll see what state and federal law require. I don't really know why we should be having any shall language here. Like, I feel like if SHA wants to, for some reason, require or allow counties to put signs up, that seems fine with me. I don't really see the point in making them do this. I also don't see the point in making the counties do this. I kind of feel like if the counties are going to pass these stop sign cameras anyway, then it makes sense to give them the flexibility to put up whatever signage they want. I mean, if they want to put, massive 3-foot signs around every stop sign so that every driver knows they're coming and no one ever gets a ticket, ultimately, I think that's their prerogative because they're the ones who are putting up the signs in the first place. I don't really understand what the logic would be other than some sort of, mysterious federal law that we've not received the citation to. I don't really understand what the logic would be of requiring SHA or the counties to do anything. But I don't mean to gum up the works here. I'm happy to second the pending motion. But I guess my general thought would be to be as least prescriptive as possible about county and state obligations. But maybe okay. I think the bill sponsor is going to blow my mind here yet again. I'm sure I'm missing something.
Yeah, well, let me just say that the language of the original bill on this one particular provision, obviously it's a notice requirement so that people know they're coming into an area where there may or may not be these stop sign monitoring systems. But the language also is only for those systems that are in use on state highways. So if it's a county or a municipal road that county or municipal highway that the local jurisdiction decides to implement a monitoring system on the stop signs, they can put up their own signs already anyway. This is really a question of who puts up the signs on state highways for monitoring systems that are in use on state highways in Montgomery County. I don't know if that helps sort of narrow the discussion that we're having. But I take your point, Delegate Stewart, and that was the challenge between all these different variations of a potential amendment. The other thing is that SHA didn't want to pay to put up signs on its state highways because local government authorized a stop sign monitoring system on a state highway. So that was sort of the original impetus for the first version of this amendment. And that way, the local government could pay to put up the sign and could install the sign at its cost. And SHA would authorize that, but wouldn't be allowed to say no. And now the question, of this shall may issue. So, Delegate Charkoudian, I see your hand up as well. I'm sort of regretting that this one little piece of this, otherwise good bill is getting more complicated as we talk, but we have to work this issue out.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My advice, my request, I'm not a member of the committee, my request. So what I did was I took the Prince George's County bill and I said, please draft this for Montgomery County. So if there's a problem with the bill, then there's a problem in Prince George's County and in Montgomery County. And my request would be that that you move the bill as it is. And then if there's something that needs to be worked out, it be worked out in the standing committee subcommittee where there would be the ability to align and fix both the Montgomery County as well as what the Prince George's County issue. I'm not clear on why State Highway would have a concern about this in Montgomery County and not in Prince George's County. And unless here's what I didn't do after I had the bill, I didn't go back and line it up line by line with Prince George's County. So if somehow it got into our bill and isn't in theirs, that would be a surprise because what I asked for was Prince George's County, strike Prince George's, put in Montgomery. So I assumed that they line up. And so my suggestion would be to go with the motion on the bill and then I can meet with State Highway or with Delegate Stewart and figure out how to align all of it. But it does feel like if there's a local bill, they ought to be consistent across the jurisdictions and solve the problems across all of them.
Okay, thanks. Delegate Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, again for like the eighth bite of the apple. Okay, that makes sense to me. My only question to Ms. Fairbanks is the as-is version of the bill consistent with Prince George's County bill? In other words, did their bill have the shall language in there? Ralph is giving me the thumbs up.
I'll
Ralph.
just jump in here because I have
Yeah.
been going line by line as this has been
Okay.
going on. Yes, it is exactly the same. That
Okay.
provision.
Okay, fantastic. Well, with that confirmed, I would like to second the motion on the floor that Delegate Moon made like 4 days ago.
Okay, thank you. All right, with trust that the standing committee subcommittee will address this issue as they see fit when it gets to them, if it hopefully gets to them. We now have a motion and a second on the original bill with no amendments at all. So we will take a vote. All in favor, please say aye and raise your hand. Make sure your camera is on. Aye. Okay, that looks unanimous. And the chair also votes yes. All right, so that advances without any amendments, and we'll let Delegate Stewart and his colleagues try to fix it if it needs fixing at a later stage. Okay, thank you all. All right, the next item on our agenda is MC 125, Delegate Moon's bill regarding maximum speed limits on Montgomery County highways. Ralph, are you still raising your hand on something else or?
I am. I just want to flag for everyone, there is an amendment for this bill that was just completed by our council. It has been sent to your emails very recently within the past 10 minutes. It is also in the Google Drive for those of you who prefer that, but just so it's a pride of place for everyone and everyone is aware of it, it is there.
Thank you. I did receive it. Hopefully everyone else did receive it as well. Delegate Moon, do you want to make a brief comment about this new amendment that's been proposed?
Yes.
You don't have to.
No. The problem is that last conversation, you're going to see it sort of replicate here in how we approach this issue. So this bill is the one that allows counties and cities to set speed limits lower than the state's designated lowest speed limit on their own county and city roads. Otherwise, it would have been governed by state law. And we made that down to 15 with the requirement for a study. Since then, Baltimore City got this done without a requirement for a study. And so they've been trying to take that off in Montgomery. They also tried to get rid of a ban on speed cameras on these roads, which I believe other jurisdictions may not have. But this year's version is solely about the study. We are not touching the speed camera question. Nevertheless, there remains a question. So the bill as originally drafted said something like, you don't have to do the study if the speed limit desired adheres to a complete streets plan. Park and Planning came in with an amendment that you should have to delete the reference to the plan because that's not the place in Montgomery County law where those speed designations are codified. So they simply deleted the reference to a plan at all because such a plan does exist and it wasn't the one mentioned in the law. I just want to flag that the other direction that one could go is to say what the actual correct plan is. And if you refer to the Park and Planning testimony in your drive, you will see the name of the plan where those speeds are actually designated. So we could say nothing, or we could insert the name of the plan. But again, the amendment before you is to say nothing because such a plan exists. But I flag this only because our friends in the Senate seem to get twisted on this bill every single year. And I worry that it's the optics of what they think the bill is saying. Oh, we're going to lower speeds whenever we want with no study. And last year it was and put speed cameras there. So we got rid of the speed camera part. But I just want to throw out there the frame on the speed reduction and plan element as to whether it helps or hurts our politics with the Senate to state which plan this came from, even though Baltimore, I believe, does not have a reference to a plan. And anyone can correct me if I have my facts wrong there. So I throw this out there because I'd like to actually get this one done, passed through the Senate this year. And that is the dynamic I will throw at you. The second one is, if you read the additional testimony from State Highway, they note that none of these local changes may apply until SHA signs off on them, essentially, which is something I wasn't quite aware of. But again, we already have jurisdictions doing this. This is that one. They said you could amend that in there. I did not prepare that amendment, but I will throw that one back over to Delegate Stewart and the E&T committee to consider that if they want to streamline all of these jurisdictions, there's a standing request from SHA to codify language that says SHA has to sign off on all of these local speed limit variations. And with that, let me just throw it back to the original question, whether we take the amendment from Park and Planning to delete reference to any study where these speeds are located, or if we insert it.
So thank you, Delegate Moon, for that explanation. So I just had a couple of questions and points. First, one of the things that we have discussed is there may be sections in the county that are governed not by a county design guide or master plan, but rather by a municipal design guide or master plan that might also indicate target speeds in a similar fashion based on, similar analyses. And it could get complicated if we did intend to include those areas to try and figure out what the name is of all of these different plans and master plans and design guides that different municipalities might have that are not already subject to the county's plan or guide, whatever that document might be. So that's another issue, and it might be another reason to accept the amendment and eliminate references to particular documents. But I just wanted to clarify, were you saying with regard to SHA authorization or approval that SHA's understanding is that they already have a sort of veto power over these changes in speed limits, regardless of whether or not it's explicitly referenced in this bill?
It did appear that way in the MDOT testimony, the submitted written testimony. I just haven't heard of it being applied in any manner. So again, I suppose if one of the county or state governing partners has some knowledge about that, it would be interesting. But again, these changes have been operating in law for some time now without that aspect being codified. So I would that's kind of why I would suggest maybe that's just a question for the E&T committee, that if they do want to apply a statewide format to all of these, they certainly could.
Okay, I note that we do have David Anspacher here. He's the division chief for countywide planning and policy at Montgomery Planning. David, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to this conversation, but you're welcome to take a moment and do so.
Yeah, I think there's two things that were put forth. I think I only have, anything to weigh in on the first provision. Yes, that's correct. Our recommendation was to remove the last few sentences of this provision. That was the words identified by the Montgomery County Complete Streets Design Guide, the Complete Streets Design Guide, and we've transmitted some additional information to you all about 10 minutes ago. But the Complete Streets Design Guide identifies default street features for 13 different street classifications in the county. That includes target speeds. It also includes widths of lanes, bikeways, sidewalks, etc. But it doesn't assign a target speed to each street classification. That's really the role of the master plans. There are some nuances there, and if you want to get into them, I'm happy to. But if you take the suggestion of removing those words at the end of the sentence, then we don't need to get into those nuances about the appropriate documents to refer to.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from members of the committee?
So with that, I would move the amendment. Sorry, the amendment to strike reference to the study name.
Second.
Okay, the amendment has been moved and seconded. We will take a vote. All members of the committee in favor of the amendment to remove the words, if the highway has a specified target speed identified by Montgomery County Complete Streets Design Guide. Please raise your hand or say aye. Make sure your camera's on. Okay, that is unanimous. The chair also votes yes. And so the amendment has been approved. And now, do we have any further discussion on the full bill? Okay, Delegate Moon moves the full bill. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, full bill has been moved and seconded as amended. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Make sure your camera's on. Okay, that is also unanimous. And that bill is passed favorably as amended. Excellent. Okay. Thank you all very much.
Who seconded both the motions on both of them?
Delegate Stewart seconded both, I believe, both the
Great.
amendment and the full bill as amended.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And then the last item we have on our agenda for today, I will note Delegate Moon circulated a draft amendment that hasn't been fully drafted and blessed by bill drafting yet. So I don't think we're allowed to vote
Yes,
on.
so the amendment is not quite where we need it to be yet. So that one we can discuss the topic, but we definitely cannot vote on the bill yet.
Got it. Thank you. So why don't we have a quick discussion about that one so that we're prepared next week when we have a final drafted amendment. This is MC 825. This is the Delegate Moon's bill regarding school bus camera violations and where the funding should go. Anyone have any comments or questions for discussion? Delegate Moon, please.
So colleagues, this is the ongoing saga of school bus camera enforcement. And at last check, we passed a bill last year that required Montgomery County to move all of the bus stops off of multi-lane highways with over whatever 5 lanes of traffic going in multiple directions with no median. And the bill reduces greatly the number of stops that they need to move, and buys them more time to make those changes, as well as tries to identify a tiny funding source for these. The amendments that will be coming, and I'm not sure if this is all in the one that Sam mentioned. So if my office is listening, we can clarify all this, but in time for next week. But there's a amendment to remove the restriction on how the funds we give the county are going to be used, and just let the county have that money unrestricted. And the reason for that is it turns out it's going to be a fairly small amount of money, nothing big enough to achieve the goals that we originally thought were going to be possible, building all sorts of new engineering treatments. So we're just going to kick the money over to them, and it's funds that many other counties already get back from the state. And so that will hopefully be a small offset to just the operational cost to moving a bunch of bus stops or hiring crossing guards. And I do believe the county is also requesting additional clarification on the 400, on the stops that get 400 citations, to clarify that it's 400 in the last fiscal year, say. Because I think the bill is actually silent as to 400 offenses when. And so we will be happy to make those adjustments and bring the bill back to you for consideration next time we meet.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Delegate, for your work on this, which has gotten pretty complicated. Any other questions or comments on MC 825? If not, we will look for those draft amendments and a discussion and possible votes next week. So I think that's the end of our agenda for today. I did want to just reiterate what I communicated, I think, in email to the members of the committee. I have a scheduling conflict starting next week at our usual noon time. I heard from Delegate Stewart that 11 a.m. on Mondays would work for him. Is that okay with other members of the committee? And if you aren't sure now, could you please follow up with me in the next day or so, just so we can confirm when we have our next meeting? And bear in mind that we'll probably only be meeting a couple, maybe 3 more times this session, because we're nearing the end of our work as a committee. And then the last thing I wanted to say was I wanted to wish everybody a happy and meaningful Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I hope you find time to reflect meaningfully and have opportunities to serve as a way to honor his memory and his work. Any other comments for the good of the order before we adjourn? All right, seeing none, thank you all very much to the committee members, to the bill sponsors, to all the staff who are here, all the advocates. We really appreciate your time, and we will see you soon. We are adjourned.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.